Okay, hello true crime fans. This is me, Patti Lee. It is still July 4th. It is still episode 19 and we are up to, if you clicked on this, it is case 4. And we've got it's a white Zinfandel. It should be a pink Moscato. It's by Barefoot. I like it because it's pink, and this is for the Harmony Montgomery case. We've switched to a white wine glass. Here, the alpaca can watch us pour. So, yes. Pink for Harmony Montgomery. Harmony Montgomery was a child who was in the system in Massachusetts, whose father was incarcerated and mother had a dependency issue and was in the system because of that. And somehow through some mishandling and, I don't know, a judge was retiring, just a number of failures, that there was a cascading error issue there, that she ended up in the custody of her father, Adam Montgomery, who was known not to have a very good understanding of child development and what the expectations for an age of a certain child should have. That was in his file from the few times that he had been doing visits, I think while he was incarcerated with Harmony. Anyways, a judge gave him custody without going through a full home visit and background research, which would have found out that he had numerous outstanding issues legally related to, I don't know, shooting someone in the face and being involved in crimes like that. So, yeah, should have been looked at. Not only that, but then he took his daughter to New Hampshire. So New Hampshire seemed not to work with Massachusetts in the way that the charter between the two states would hope that they would work together when there's an issue of a child who was in the system moving to another state. As far as we know, Harmony went as a 4-year-old to Massachusetts and wasn't seen after she turned 5, never went to school anywhere, seems to have disappeared. So, in the last couple of weeks, we talked about how in New Hampshire, the town that she was in, they had been looking at the last residence where I believe Kayla Montgomery lived, maybe with Adam for a short time, or at least Kayla had lived there. And they had been taking out evidence from that apartment complex and had been looking in the sewer systems, and that was from our last update on the Harmony Montgomery case. So this, similar to the Dylan Rounds case, that was case 4 in this flight, has to do with gun charge. So while it's not related directly to the disappearance of Harmony Montgomery and where she might be and what her demise was, as far as we know, this relates to Kayla Montgomery. She was indicted on charges of receiving stolen weapons. She was charged previously. So her previous charges were welfare fraud because she had been claimed Harmony as living with her and was getting food stamps, and Harmony had not been living with her and was not seen. Also perjury. She had lied. There's 2 counts of lying to the grand jury. We don't know what about, because if you're following true crime, especially if you're watching any of #LawTube, you can Google that shit. LawTube has been talking sometimes about things like grand jury proceedings are secret. Those are things where a jury is impaneled for a amount of time in a state, in an area in a state, and they meet on certain dates and look at a number of things. And that's where you hear even a ham sandwich could get indicted. They're talking by a grand jury. So there's 2 ways to get indicted. By the prosecutor bringing it to a grand jury, where only the prosecution gets to show the evidence. There is no defense, like other side evidence. Or you could have a preliminary trial, and that is, we saw that with the Barry Morphew case and with the Chad Daybell in the Vallow Daybell case, where you have witnesses come in and speak, and the defense has witnesses come in and speak, and then a judge makes a decision. So those are two ways you can get indicted, through a preliminary trial process or through a grand jury process, which is more secretive and can be more efficient for the prosecution. So obviously pros and cons with each, right? Because if you're a defendant, you want to have probably a preliminary trial so you can, especially if you're innocent, or feel you have evidence to show you're innocent of the charges. And if you're the prosecution or somebody who's suffered a crime, like the grand jury sounds like, hey, that's a quick way to like get this going. So anyways, Kayla Montgomery lied to the grand jury, but we don't know because of the secretive process. I mean, it's just, that's how it goes. So we don't know what her two lies were. And she had been out on her own recognizance after being in jail for a while on those two charges. So everybody on the interwebs thought, oh, she must have given them some evidence, and that's why they were looking at this apartment complex in New Hampshire. Well, we don't know. Now she allegedly, or not allegedly, now she has been indicted on the charges for allegedly have retained a rifle belonging to CF. Now we don't know what those initials stand for. And knowing that it probably was stolen, as well as a shotgun that belonged to CF. So those are both Class A felonies, punishable by 7.5 years in jail and a $4,000 fine. Now, she is still out on bail. So I would assume that she is still working for Harmony. Let's hope. Tomorrow, Tuesday, July 5th, the dad, Adam, will be in court for a status conference hearing on his case. If you remember, he also has similar charges, although he has additional charges of related to Harmony. He's got these stolen weapons charges as well. So Kayla's still free, and maybe they're giving these charges to encourage her to give more information. Forensic analysts looking at dirt for DNA, looking at sewage for DNA, like all this, they pulled out parts of, they took a refrigerator out, and everybody's talking about, so the apartment complex gives people new refrigerators when they move in. And that, I think that was a little misunderstanding of the fact where an account by the FBI retired agent Jennifer Coffendorfer said that no, like, so when the FBI comes in and takes something from an apartment, they will replace that thing that they took for the current residents. So that's where the new refrigerator came in. But they did take a refrigerator out of that apartment where Kayla Montgomery had lived. Supposedly, I think the last place where where Harmony had been seen. And so yes, tomorrow we will see Adam in jail, and hopefully Kayla is still talking and working with police. That would be great. Hopefully we find out from forensics, was Harmony anywhere in that apartment. And I mean, they took also floor, I believe, around the people that lived in the apartment gave information about what was missing in their apartment after the FBI and people went through it. And I think they said floor in front of the refrigerator and stuff in a closet, I believe, was missing. Floor and maybe some floorboards. So we can, and we know they looked in the sewage systems and underneath the apartment. So looking for decomposing remains and identifying them through DNA, I believe, is a timely process. Hopefully we find that. So that was our update about the Montgomery case. We will have obviously more if there's anything that comes out on Adam's hearing tomorrow.